energy.
Sleeping is important.
I guess it is.
Welcome back to the White, Gray, Black Weekly Manga Podcast, the podcast where we talk about all of the latest and greatest ongoing manga releases. My name is Bruce, the proprietor of the White, Gray, Black YouTube channel, and with me again this week is Gautam, CEO of Manga.
You're fired!
Please keep in mind that for all major discussions, we will be talking spoilers. This week, this means up to Chapter 93 for DandaDan and Chapter 143 for Mashle. A few minor sprinkled in romance series that we'll be talking about also. Before we start, let me plug the YouTube channel. If you're watching us live, we are live on the White, Gray, Black YouTube channel and the Twitch White, Gray, Black YT channel. If you want to check us out in podcast fashion, we are on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, and a couple of others. Don't forget, if you want to support us and you enjoy this podcast, head on over to the Patreon at patreon.com/WGBmanga, where you will be able to hear a special life-altering conversation between Gautam and I about how we first got into anime. That is now up on Patreon, and it's almost 3 hours long, so if you're looking for any extra content to listen to, that's a pretty good deal.
Damn, we talked for a while on that one. We had a lot to say. That was a good.
I mean, it's a whole historical "where'd you start, where are you now" type discussion. So, yep, it was a bunch. It's a lot of extra content, and for only $3, $1 an hour for entertainment, that's a pretty good deal.
I'd say so.
So let's get started on some news stuff. The big thing today, we were recording this on Valentine's Day, hence the romance theme. Big announcement today was an announcement from Netflix Anime that they are the ones adapting Pluto. So Pluto is a series by Naoki Urasawa, the most well-known for Monster, and also credited is Osamu Tezuka. If you don't know that name, this is the guy whose Wikipedia page essentially calls him the godfather of anime and the god of manga, and titles like that. This is the guy who did Astro Boy. And among other things, the Astro Boy would be the most notable. He also did a series called Phoenix that is incredibly popular. He did Kimba the White Lion, which is the story that the Lion King Disney stole from him. He did Dororo, which was adapted 3 or 4 years ago. Also incredibly popular. He's been dead for close to 30, a little over 30 years. I think he died in 89 from pancreatic cancer, stomach cancer. His claim to fame is he is almost single-handedly regarded as the father of modern manga and anime. He did both. He had his own studio. He did everything. He did Astro Boy, which is kind of the first, air quotes, modern manga. So yeah, and Pluto is the story by Urasawa of it's a retelling of a single Astro Boy arc in about 65 chapters, I think. Really cool. If you have time, go look. There's a 4-minute preview that, in my opinion, looks amazing. And I am in the middle of reading Monster, and I think I might stop, take a break, and read Pluto because it looks awesome, and Urasawa's writing is insane. So I'm pretty hyped for this.
I knew Kimba, predated the Lion King, of course, but just seeing it written out in our segment notes here, it's so jarring how shameless the ripoff from Kimba to Simba is. It's like it's you just copied homework 100%.
Yeah, and I haven't read it, but I've seen a lot of stuff, and it is pretty blatant, the Disney ripoff there. I mean, it's one thing to have two different movies about lions. It's completely different to have them both be the same story. Yeah, but yeah, anyways, that's Osamu Tezuka. Tezuka, again, like I said, just Wikipedia Osamu Tezuka and start reading, and you'll be blown away what this guy has done. I could go into a tangent about all this stuff. He got invited by Stanley Kubrick to be the art director on 2001: A Space Odyssey. in 60. Yeah, he declined it because he was like, I can't spend a year away from my stuff. But like, that's how famous and popular this guy is. He had a like personal note that he wrote to, I can't remember the name of the author of Akira, but he also directed Akira, right? The author of it did. He like has a personal note to him about how much he loved the movie. All of this stuff. I mean, it's really hard to compare him to anyone else in any other medium. I mean,
I think the closest comparison I can think of is Miyazaki in the fact that he makes so many classics, and that they both do anime and manga and have their own studio.
Yeah. If you were to compare him to someone from another medium like movies, you're looking at someone like Orson Welles or
Stanley
like
Kubrick.
Hitchcock. Yeah, maybe Kubrick's maybe a little bit more modern even, but yeah, those type of like huge names, like name recognition dropping. I mean, it's like the guy who did Astro Boy, right? I mean, it's like Schuster and Schultz, right, who did Superman. It would be like if those guys were still around, like their name holds a lot, right? The guys who did Batman, whose names are escaping me, but right, like imagine if the guys who created Superman also went on to like make make a movie studio and make movies in the 50s and 60s and 70s and stuff. So yeah, Tezuka is like the man. It's really hard to compare him to another medium, because in other mediums there wasn't really anybody who was just kind of the man for like 30 or 40 years. But anyways, go watch that Pluto preview. It looks awesome. I'm super excited. I'm going to try to start reading that before the anime airs. I don't know if we got an air date on that, but I'm going to assume that it's Netflix, so it could be anytime. They might drop things seasonally, so we might get it spring or summer. Is that right? Yeah, spring or summer. So we'll see. Pretty hyped about that, though.
And on a side note, it's interesting to see how much Netflix is cutting its own catalog, but putting out more anime stuff. It's clear what that anime is still on the rise and is getting just a metric fuck ton of watches.
And I would imagine if you're Netflix, you're probably looking at what retention people are watching. And to be honest, Netflix probably has the best selection of anime if you're in the West. Maybe I don't know. I'd have to compare. I don't own any of the streaming services, so might be Hulu has good. Yeah.
Oh, actually, Crunchyroll probably.
Well, yeah, Crunchyroll, I guess, is kind of a singular streaming thing. But as far as the other,
if you don't count that, yeah,
as far as the other main ones, Netflix is probably the best. It's also probably pretty cheap for them to slap their name on this, right? I mean, this might be originally financed by Netflix, or it might just be bought, name bought by Netflix. They do both historically. So I'm not sure.
And they slapped their name on everything. I remember the Little Witch Academia, the show came out, and it's like Netflix presents Little Witch Academia.
Yeah, I mean, they do the same thing with JoJo, right?
Yeah, and people I know think Netflix, like people who aren't so deep in the sauce like us, understandably think that Netflix made those anime. It's wild.
Yeah, and that's exactly what they're going for. So, yeah. Yeah. Let's do sales stuff real quick. This is a kind of interesting sales week. My Hero up top, pretty classic. Tokyo Revengers final volume week, third week on sale, still in number 2 position. Kubo Ibuki, great game in third. That is a baseball manga that I don't have much experience with. And then we just kind of get the big Shueisha block, Blue Box, Kingdom, Sakamoto Days. Really cool to see Blue Box and Sakamoto Days in here. Those are both decently new. Those are from the same block from 2021. I believe those both started. 2021 block, those started pretty close to each other. And then we get Smoking Behind the Supermarket at number 7, which is awesome. That started on Twitter like a year ago, and now it is the 7th highest selling manga. Yeah, it's cool.
Not too bad, yeah. Honestly, I'm surprised to see it this high up, but I'm happy to. And another thing I'm kind of surprised about is seeing Boruto this high. I didn't think it was as popular as it was.
That's yep. Boruto still pulls. I wonder if there's something special because in the how long have we been doing? Like all 5 months we've been doing the podcast here. I don't think I've seen Boruto show up, and it should have had 3 or 4 volumes drop during that time, or maybe just 2 or 3. But yeah, first time it's showed up, so maybe it's something special. It is down there at number 9, but it's still, I mean, still selling. So yeah,
Yeah, interesting.
not dead.
Yeah. Uh, Honestly surprising. I thought it had a rough start, but it probably got good. Who knows?
Yeah.
It's doing
Better,
something right.
maybe it got better, maybe not good. I won't go that far, but Tokyo Aliens at number 8. I have not heard of this series. I don't know if this is translated here in the West.
I have not heard of it either.
Yeah, I've not heard of it. I might do a little bit of research to check on that. That's the big sales thing. I think the other thing I wanted to give a call out for is my girl Arakawa. Her new series Yomi no Sugai has 1 million copies in 3 volumes out. Japan is in the know. They realize that this series is awesome. Daemons of the Shadow Realm in the West will probably be a flop, and I'm disappointed because the name they chose is bad. We'll see once the anime hits, though. Might pull it up.
This is a series that's going to get utterly stifled by a terrible name. Yep. I think that's.
I think we're already seeing it, right?
Yeah.
The Reddit threads. I think the Reddit threads generally have been posting the Japanese name, so it's okay. But even then, people just don't know about it. I can only tweet about it so much about how good it is, and from the author of Full Metal Alchemist, these only second technically original series after Full Metal Alchemist that she's done. It's really good. This is one that I think is going to sit there at the back, kind of middle. I mean, 1 million copies in 3 volumes is insane. That is extremely good. I mean, you can look at the top here, right? The number 1 seller. Now, this is in a week's time, right? Or in 3 days' time. My Hero Academia sold a little over 250,000 for a single volume, and that has 6 seasons of anime. That has been running for 5 or 6 years. Yomi no Sugai is a year old, 3 volumes, essentially more than 300,000 copies for each volume. It's selling incredibly well in Japan. So
she's the fucking goat, dude.
She is the goat, and the series is awesome. I'm gonna guess we're gonna get an anime for that in a year and a half, 2 years, and when it happens, the advertising for it will plaster all over, from the creator of Full Metal Alchemist, and people will perk their ears and eyes up and pay attention to it. And I think especially in the West, I think the anime is going to be the thing that turns people's opinion on it, and then it'll be one of the top series. But it is monthly, which is kind of the other big detractor, but we'll see.
Well, you know what? So is FMA. I think
FMA was fine. But I also think that the majority of people who say, yes, I love FMA, it's great, it's amazing, probably did not read it as it was published monthly. Because it was being published. I mean, it started publication, I want to say, in 2002 or 2003, maybe 2004. Ran for 5 years or so, and then ended. I didn't read it while it was ongoing. I watched it after it came out, and then can go back and read it. But
I read it because I watched the anime, and I heard the manga had a different ending, and it wasn't over yet. It was still there's still a decent chunk of it left. So
yeah, the first anime I think started in 2006 or 7, so only like 2 or 3 years, which is about half of it. Which makes sense, right? She wrote about half of it. They did the anime. The second half is different. Alchemist Brotherhood catches up with it, but yeah. Yomi no Sugai, Twin Demons of the Shadow Realm, whatever you want to call it. It's going to be big. Just not yet. We'll call it here, though. What else we got? Kindergarten Wars is now a regular on Jump Plus. This is an official series. I'm happy for this series. This is a fun, cute, really well-written little thing. Yep.
It's one of those series I wonder what they're going to do with it, because I feel like there is a pretty staple gag that they do a lot, but it hasn't gotten old yet. So I'm still enjoying the hell out of it. I hope it continues to be entertaining.
I think that it's I think it's proven to me with especially the last arc that it's more than just its gag, right? The gag is window dressing and it's fun and funny with the main character, really being into a hot guy. But I do think that with the last arc, it really showed that it can do good writing with the bomb baseball bat girl. So I don't think that it's
one note. You don't think that's one note?
No, and I think there's a lot of potential in it because you got a good writer, you have an interesting premise, you have side characters that have been great so far. This is also one I think translates to anime really well if it gets there. Just talking on anime adaptations even more. But, right, I mean, cute kids, action and explosions, kind of voice actors being able to be goofy and serious. They're assassins, but they are love struck or whatever you want to say. A lot of range in the voice actors you can get out of this. I think this is the setup for being one of those kind of sleeper hits / Spy Family 2.0 type thing.
Yeah, I think it definitely has potential to have an anime. I want to see that bear guy. I want to see show me the chapter where this bear guy shows up.
I want to say he already showed up, but weren't they dressed in something for the kids? I don't remember.
I don't recall. I don't think so, but maybe they have.
That I think. And did you add this aliens area thing, or that's old? That's old.
It only ended like 2 weeks ago.
Aliens arena? That ended months ago.
Am I tripping?
You are tripping.
I thought it ended a few weeks ago.
That ended last year, November, October, maybe. It's been over for a while.
Maybe something else ended and I got it mixed up.
Maybe I don't know.
Yeah. Oh yeah. It's never mind. It's just the final volume.
Oh, probably came out.
Released and I thought I was seeing
probably to not good sales. That's aliens area for some reason is the one I see a lot of the Twitter people I follow saying they were disappointed that one got axed, but I don't. I mean, I think everything that's been axed deserves it. I think I say that a lot. Aliens area especially. That was just, I don't know.
Siren got robbed. Siren got robbed 2 decades ago.
I was about to say that's from 2005, my dude, or 2008. So I think that's it for the news. For quick little discussions, actually, why don't you tell me about Mashle? I have been reading this to start and catch up. I think I'm 10 or 11 chapters in. It's pretty fun, pretty funny, good action, interesting. It definitely has its gag. It's sort of deadpan main character, but what's so good about this most recent chapter?
Yeah, you remember how I mentioned Kindergarten Wars has one joke? Mashle also has one joke done a million different ways, but it friggin' works, man. The whole series is a massive shitpost, which is a kind of a play on Hogwarts, except One Punch Man goes there instead of Harry Potter and fixes all of his problems with his muscles. And this is like kind of the final battle, and instead of tense dialogue and kind of big stakes, there are big stakes, but Mashle is basically just saying, "Hey, bro, I just want to go home. Your name is ultra cringe, by the way. You're an old man. You can't be going by the tag Innocent Zero." He straight up says cringe in the official translations, and it's just so fucking funny. Can you hit the next page real quick?
It's from reading the first couple of chapters, I definitely noticed that it's very Mash. The main character is very kind of meta. It's the best kind of reader insert, right? Where instead of using the reader insert for like you can feel powerful or now the girls love you, is like your name is cringe, bro. Like it's the kind of like hypercritical. His culture is different because of he was not raised with he did have a magical grandpa, dad, or whatever, but since he doesn't have magic powers, he's kind of outside of that culture. And because he's outside of that culture, he brings a viewpoint that the reader might have looking in, and it's really funny.
Exactly, he does, but then it takes the gag to an extreme where it goes from like, oh, he's relatable because he's just a normal dude, to no, it's not relatable anymore. He used his quadriceps to fucking crater a mountain or something. You know, it's like he plays Quidditch in like the fourth chapter or
Yeah,
something,
I read that one. Yep.
and he flies his broom by just like bicycling his legs so hard that he just flies
Yeah, and
through sheer momentum.
I think in one of the chapters I just read, some test is like, oh, find these scorpions with gems in their head and kill them, and bring the gems back. And if you bring a gem back, you get a reward, or you pass the class or something. And he's like confronting another guy who is like, I'm trying to remember, like he like makes him hit him 10 times. He's going to hit him 10 times back. And he like hits him twice. And the guy's like, I am going to die if Mash hits me one more time. And then like the largest of all scorpions shows up and they're all like, oh my gosh, it's the like star gemmed scorpion. Like if we kill that, we'll get a super reward from the thing. And Mash just like backhands it and it goes flying and it's gone and it's not a part of the story anymore. And he's just like, I'm doing something. Leave me alone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, I'm glad to see this series go so long and do so well, because at no point do I feel like it takes itself seriously in any major way. It is a shitpost through and through, and that's what's great about it. Also, I love this reaction face where he's devastated at being called cringe.
There's a lot of yeah. I've noticed in the first 10 or chapters or so, the reactions to the things that Mash tells people is very kind of like sad, disappointed, dejected. Like, like I thought I was cool. Like I thought I was being. It's very what's the like anti Chunibyo kind of, right? Like Chunibyo is the idea of the like 8th grader syndrome. The like, again, like, oh, my name is Innocent Zero. I'm the ultimate evil. My power is blah blah blah. And he's kind of. Mash is the anti that, so everyone is trying to be shonen cool, right? Like yelling their names out or whatever, and Mash is just like, that is so lame. Which I think is very refreshing in a series pretty much full of the former.
And you can even see it with this fucking page right here, exactly what you're talking about, right? Like he sustains like a serious injury, loses one of his hands pretty much, and his reaction's like, ugh, I've got old man hand.
Old man hand. Yep. Yeah, and he does that a lot where it's like, what was I don't know. You should read it. It's really funny and good.
It is funny and good. Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm liking it. I'm gonna hopefully. There's too many things to read, but I think MASH is a pretty easy one to get through. So, said you think it's winding down? Do you think are we actually in the end game, or is there going to be something else?
I think this is the end game. I don't know how many chapters are going to be in like the last fight, but I think after this fight, it's probably done.
Interesting. Yeah, I'll be interested to see if it keeps going or if they actually end it.
I think it's a good spot to end it if they decide to. It's like 100 and something chapters, and
we're at 143.
There's like actually no more setup for any other villains, or any other future plot points yet. So, I think this will probably do a wrap here pretty soon.
Well, I think we got an anime announcement, right? And
we did.
My guess would be that. We have voices. Oh, in the preview. Okay, so it's cast. My guess is that they at least want to keep it running through the anime being released, and then we'll see if the anime is really popular. They might press on it to continue. I hope they don't. I don't know if we've seen that much recently. Maybe because Demon Slayer ended pretty soon. Jujutsu Kaisen, I think, is getting to the end, but I would say we're still probably a year out, maybe, on that one. So
I find that a lot of like popular like manga and stuff kind of end at the author's discretion more so than I see like TV shows in America, because those get milked to death, right? It's a rare occasion you see those end when the creator wants it to end.
I do think in the last few years we've seen less pressure on authors to continue writing. I do know this is a problem that Kubo had with Bleach, right? He was pressured to writing, or maybe just pressured to produce more chapters than he wanted, or chapters too fast, and that affected him negatively. I think especially after the loss of Miura, of the author of Berserk. Much of his death is, from what I understand, attributed to physical maladies taken from overwork for much of his life due to, I mean, part of this I think is him being a perfectionist. I do think he had other health issues, but he did also work himself to death and cause wrist issues, which he had to take breaks for. Blah, blah, blah.
Nature of the industry's a meat grinder.
Yeah, I mean, the same thing with Hunter x Hunter. You know, he also has health issues. I believe his issues are back or wrist issues from drawing or writing.
He has back issues. I forget what it's from. I used to know. I think it might be bad posture too from hunching over a desk.
So essentially, yeah, I think the last couple of years after, you know, losing quote unquote, we lost Miura. Essentially lost the author of Hunter x Hunter, right? He's published a chapter a year over 5 years, maybe. I think in the past 5 years we've gotten less than 10 chapters, maybe 10.
That shit ain't ending, but it's already kind of fucking amazing for what it is. He probably should have just ended it after Chimera Ants, though.
Yeah, I mean that's a whole other tangent. I will say,
True.
I think that the more modern manga artists, I think the digital medium is healthier, safer, and better for them in a lot of ways than sitting over a piece of paper with a pen. There are more ergonomic drawing, writing, styling tools. The programs allow you to take shortcuts for certain drawing things, repeatable patterns, right? Like Miura's dragon, that's a pretty popular spread. He drew every scale on that dragon, right? A little half circle or something. And that's so incredibly detailed. That can be done digitally now with like a repeating pattern or a brush that's the pattern tool. So I do think one of the things with modern manga art production is that we're hopefully saving some artists for the long term with some of these helpful tools they've got.
Yeah, I think so. Like you can easily correct any errors too instead of redoing a whole page. You know, I think it was one of his assistants or someone in an interview that said, like, what they saw to be a perfect page. If Mir saw any imperfections in his own work, he'd scrap the whole thing and do it over.
Right, yeah. And you have to start over because he's doing ink on page, right? And maybe he's got a sketch behind it, but ink on page, got to do it again.
Yeah, and in a digital medium, that's like a 2-second fix, you know?
I mean, yeah, not even. I have a little drawing tablet, and I've seen people, the undo button people have mapped onto their pen, and so they'll draw a line and say, nope, try again, nope. Anyways, yeah, Mashle, funny. I'm enjoying it a lot. Maybe I'll finish that up tonight. Maybe I've been moving, as you can see. We'll talk about that later, but definitely needing to take a break. So,
yeah.
Anything else on Mashle, Gautam?
Nope, that's about it. Read it. It's fun.
I would like to talk about DandaDan, which will transfer us with a little bit of romantic background into our Valentine's Day topic. So this chapter, the art in this chapter alone is great. I think I have 3 spreads after this. But something I really liked was I really like the way the MC handles seeing the girl he has a crush on sleeping, quote unquote, with like one of his friends, right? They kind of like took a nap together. One of them's trying to focus their chi. We know this is platonic, and Ken does not. But the way he reacts to it, you read this chapter, right?
Yeah.
The way he reacts to it of like, okay, this sucks. But I can't worry about this right now. We're about to be invaded by aliens. I'll deal with this later. Is like mature, and like not like a lesser author would have said, oh, this chapter is going to be all about this drama, this misunderstanding drama, right? And they didn't do that. They just got rid of it by saying, this sucks. I feel bad, and that's not the most important thing. The most important thing is the alien invasion, so I'm going to deal with that later. And I thought that's such a great decision.
I completely agree. And during our award show thing for last year, I mentioned that DandaDan was one of the best romances, and that's still a hot take, but I think it's stuff like this, right? It subverts normal romance tropes where this will be like 3 or 4 or 5 chapters of misunderstandings and no
Right.
communication, right? Otherwise, but yeah, it just turns out people are generally level-headed, and the author writes them that way. It's
Yeah.
great.
And I mean, this avoids a big pitfall that a lot of people notice and critique. So if this had been a misunderstanding that would have led to more drama, or this would have been the focus of the chapter, this is what's called idiot plot, right? Idiot plot is essentially when the plot could be resolved by any two characters just talking to each other. Now, there's a little bit of a caveat is, the MC here is passed out and he's astral projecting, so they can't really talk to each other. But even still, the fact that they just avoid any kind of it's a misunderstanding or just going down that drama path is, I don't know. I have so much respect for the author doing that. It's so good and simple, and yeah, it's great.
I agree. Yeah. Did you notice that he's astral projecting from his asshole?
Yeah, he's got a little tail thing, but knowing DandaDan, it certainly might be coming out of his butt after the importance of testicles in the series.
Yeah,
overall.
yeah. That's what I was gonna say. The main theme, the complex hidden theme behind DandaDan is it's all about asses and balls.
Yeah, the genitals are important.
Yep.
But yeah, this spread is crazy good.
Dope.
It's so good. Also, speaking of quick digital tools, this is, so what we're looking at here is sort of Takakura going through a phone wormhole through Tokyo. This is just a picture of downtown Tokyo converted to like a manga style, and then warped, which I learned how to do this in After Effects a couple weeks ago, maybe. Just warped through a singular point and added some accents in. Like, this probably took him, even if this took him an hour, imagine the amount of time it would take to manually draw like a distorted skyline of Tokyo. You just it's almost impossible to do, I would say, right? You just couldn't actually produce this kind of art without an exceptional, you could, but without an exceptional kind of mental image and faculties and practice of distorting and warping and rounding out and drawing buildings and skylines in that way. It's not a tool set that most mangaka have, right? They're mostly focused on drawing characters. But with digital tools, you can just do it, and it looks really fucking good.
It does, yeah. It looks like a scene from Doctor Strange.
Yeah, could be a Doctor Strange. This could be a movie thing. This does feel very kind of sci-fi, obviously, because the series is sci-fi, but it just looks very cool. It's a very classic kind of teleportation visual. The TV movie wormhole, right, is round and you move through it, and it's just kind of that with Tokyo pasted around it. And then we get Grandma, who is one of my favorite characters and one of the best designed characters, I think, in the whole series.
I'm glad she finally gets to show her stuff. Yeah, this was a sick ending. I like how her and the two grandmas are just buds now, just hanging out all the time.
Who's the other grandma?
Turbo Granny. And
oh,
the cat.
Yeah, the cat. Yeah, Turbo Granny.
Yeah.
It's, man, I just can't get over how good and cool the spreads and art is in this. I could talk. The channel is called White, Gray, Black, but you can see how good this panel is, because if you look at Granny, Granny's wearing primarily gray and black, and the area immediately around her, instead of being filled with debris, which would also be dark and more black or gray, instead is almost completely in a white, empty space. And doing empty white with black on top makes her stand out the most in this page. So this is like immediately where your eye goes to are two things, right? There's the big black enemy robot head, and then Granny, and those are really the two most important things on the page. So it's just such good panel composition here that DandaDan always has really good composition like this. So
How does this dude do this weekly? There
I
hasn't even
yeah,
been a break in
again,
like
I
forever.
think he is I think an exceptional digital artist because there's a lot of things in here that I notice are digital specific, I guess I would say, right? Patterns on the wood here. That's pretty easy. The other patterns do look manually drawn. I'm pretty sure he also has maybe pre-drawn explosions or brushes, right? Like if you look at the bottom, sort of the explosion from the ground, the sort of jagged line with the white below it, that's just a brush I think you can pick, right? You just draw that with a brush. You don't have to draw the lines individually. Stuff like that. Even then, if you start looking at the robot's not super detailed. There's actually nothing in this page that is really hyper detailed. The explosions are all like generally digital brush selected. There's a couple of detailed things in here, but nothing that really would take that long, right? The robot is pretty low poly, low detail. And the two characters, it's just good, simple.
Small parts of it, like there are a million small parts that work really well that come together. Like look at the motion blur on the bat, for example.
Yep.
It's just like that at every piece, like of the panel you look at, you know. So
I definitely think DandaDan is you said it exactly. It's a lot of small pieces, and the sum of all those little choices this author artist is making make it work lots of ways, right?
Absolutely, yeah. It hasn't missed yet, so
it has not. And I remember for the first, I don't know, year almost, we were kind of like, okay, it's really good, but can it stay really good? I'm kind of missing X, Y, and Z. But yeah, I mean, again, here, panel composition, excellent. Again, Granny, the sort of dark black on white, is one of the most stark contrasts you can do other than white on black. Composition here is great, right? The composition is so good, right? Her cape is blowing off the page right to where you're supposed to start reading the page, right? On the far right. So you start from her cape, it brings you into the character, you keep moving left, you're brought down by her dark legs to see Takakura, you're brought up by the explosion, and then back down left because the explosion out of the robot is actually going down into the other panel. It's just so good. Like the flow of the pages here is something that makes his action paneling and action composition so good. Also, Granny just looks cool. I don't know. She's great.
Granny does. She has the fucking cool guys don't look at explosion pose. She has the glasses.
She's got the cigarette.
Where you can't see her eyes because it's a badass action pose. One cute thing is that she holds the phone up so that Turbo Granny can also hear and talk. She holds the phone up so both of them are able to talk on the phone.
Isn't Turbo Granny holding the phone in these, or is those in a page I didn't grab?
It might be that Turbo Granny's holding the phone.
I think Turbo Granny's holding the phone in these pages, but yeah.
I just think it's cute that she's holding it in the final panel, right? Normal Granny, I mean.
No, she's holding her baseball bat. Right?
Oh,
that's her baseball bat. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
The cat is holding the phone, but yeah.
Turbo Granny also has like a gremlin face this whole time, and I think she's become so fucking cute.
It's such a great character.
Yeah, like she started out as the creepiest fucking weirdo and turned into the mascot character of the series. Absolutely,
and what a great mascot! What a great ending line of just like, you know, your partner has exploded a robot in action. The ghost of your kind of former partner, power sharer, is here. And what does Turbo Granny say? He says, "If you eat the chips on the shelf, I will kill you." Which is just like classic. Also, I love Takakura's. He does the shocked face, double hands on glasses. That's like his pose when things surprise him, and it's just one of those weird, unique things that's in this series. That's just so good.
Yeah, and you know, like the author does this for all of the characters so well, especially Momo draws so many like different types of reaction faces. Everyone focuses on how great Anya from Spy X Family's reaction faces are, but people should be giving fucking DandaDan more credit for how good the reaction faces
It's got
are.
a lot of good ones. Yep.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think if there's anything else. Anything else to say on DandaDan?
Uh, nope. I think this is a good chapter. We're right in the middle of it, but I think we'll get more. There'll be more to talk about as we wrap up this arc.
Yep. Oh, I do. I was going to say one prediction is my guess is we're going to get maybe a chapter or two of Takakura and Granny, and then we're going to cut back to the other three who are training. The assault's going to start. Deus Ex Machina / not really, but saved by Takakura and Granny showing up. That would be my guess for how the plot goes, but it has never gone in a predictable direction previously, so we'll see.
I do like that Ira is the only kind of competent fighter. I thought that was interesting.
Yeah, she's maybe the least developed character, but she's still really unique. I don't know if she showed up in this chapter like that. I didn't grab a picture of it, but I love her eye patch. I think that gives her a cool look. I think previously her design was pretty plain, but giving her the eye patch makes her look really cool. It just go read. It's not in any of the pictures, I don't think, but yeah, Ira in the eye patch is very cool.
And she had her arc was like one of the most tragic flashbacks, and it had some good development, but I think it feels like she doesn't have much development because she kind of acts the same as she did when she like entered the series,
Yeah, so and I think we'll get a little bit more with her in this arc for the combat and stuff, but it's very much the One Piece style where it's like when you introduce a new character or you're adding a crewmate, they go through their major arc, and then once that's over, they don't really change. They are a consistent character. And I think that is okay for other series to do, and I think that's the kind of character Ira is. I think she was introduced. Yeah. I think she developed in her arc. I do think that the flashback chapter with the dancing mother or whatever it was is probably the like moment where I went, okay, DandaDan was fun and good, and now it's like solidified, amazing, like really great. That was a chapter where it swapped.
That chapter was like legit heartbreaking. I teared up. That was
it's a very
such
good
a
chapter.
sad chapter. Yeah.
So go check it out. Speaking of heartbreaking, and we spoke at the start about how DandaDan is a good romance. Happy Valentine's Day. Let's talk about some romance manga that are coming out that we like, that we want to suggest or chat about or talk. Why don't you pick a series to say a few words about, and we'll chat about it.
Yeah, and I guess to specify, we're just talking about ongoing, currently running romances, right?
Yeah, let's talk about the ongoing ones. I think we've spoken previously, maybe, no, it was in the last episode. Kaguya is maybe the best romance that we've both read. So
yeah, and yeah, there's my Orin High School Host Club on the bottom right.
I grabbed this pick off Google, but yeah, Horimiya is up there, quintessential. But yeah, just what's one of your favorites? Maybe not your favorite, but what's one of your favorite ongoing right now?
In my opinion, the best running romance, and it is my favorite and the best running one, in my opinion, is The Dangers in My Heart.
Mm-hmm.
Also wrapping up, I think. But yeah, I think everything on my list is mostly adult romance stuff. But The Dangers in My Heart is actually like a teenage romance. And I think it does it so goddamn well because I feel like a lot of romance, not a lot, I think that's hyperbole, but a decent chunk of romance stuff writes kid characters. They just want to use a high school setting. They're written like adults.
Right.
And the only thing that indicates that they're children is they misunderstand each other and don't communicate. And that's just a tool for the author to drag the story out.
It's easy a plot, yeah, like we were talking about.
And that's what usually annoys me about romances. I think The Dangers in My Heart is so fucking well written because the characters go so much growth. The main character is this edgy little guy, and he develops the first chapter is like the first few chapters are like super Chunibyo, where he's like, I wonder what'll happen if I kill all my classmates, kind of thoughts. But like, he's not like that as a character at all. Like he completely grows out of that in a natural way. It addresses teenage insecurities. I just think it's so well written. And I think the romance also works really well. So
Yeah,
uh,
I've not read
good
all
news.
of this. I have read this first maybe 20 or 30 chapters and kind of caught up at the end. It's, you're right, the characters are sort of naive and innocent, but not stupid, which I think is the dividing line of that kind of high school romance that causes issues, right? Where
Mm.
sometimes they just think, oh, kids are stupid, and I'll just make them be stupid around each other and, draw the wrong conclusions. Whereas in this one, it's like, okay, they're naive, love is new, they aren't familiar with it, but they aren't stupid, right? They're still kind of emotionally mature where it matters. It's a really good series.
And I think uh, every single point there are misunderstandings like every romance manga, but the misunderstandings always ends with them talking it out and
Mm-hmm.
clarifying stuff. So that's never really a point of drama because they talk and have communication. And I think that's a theme with all of my picks is people talking to each other. What's that term you use? Like stupid writing or something? What was it?
It's
Like
called idiot plot, right?
idiot plot. Yeah.
Any plot point that's introduced that could be solved just by two characters talking to each other is idiot plot. It happens. I mean, it's a notorious in rom coms, right? Where it's like, I thought you wanted this, and you thought
Hmm.
I wanted. It's anything where it's just if the two characters just sat down and talked to each other and didn't misunderstand would be resolved. That's idiot plot, and it's rampant and it's generally not very good.
Right. And I think most of my picks dodge that.
Yeah,
Because that's usually the type of romances I like. I usually drop the ones that frustrate me too much.
yeah, makes sense. Um, let's see, one of my favorite.
Yeah, hit me with one of yours.
I mean, I'm a big fan of Stone Bisque Doll, My Dress Up Darling. That one had a down arc. I think we talked about it 2 weeks ago. I talked about how
Right.
it's back in stride. It's still very good. But just the general sort of romance of it and the point of view of Marin, kind of as the girl being head over heels for the guy as opposed to the guy being a super simp, was refreshing and well written enough that I enjoyed it. Um, Blue Box is also really good. We mentioned that in the sales thing. That was up there at number 3 or 4. Uh, it's pretty good. It isn't perfect, but it has, reading it chapter to chapter is a little bit different than looking at it kind of as a whole series. Because chapter to chapter, it'll make little things go, oh, that seems like idiot plot. They just need to talk to each other. And if you just give it 2 or 3 chapters, they almost always do, which I think is good. And I think the one shot of Blue Box, if you really want to read a really good one shot romance, Blue Box is excellent. I will say, as sort of big point of discussion, I think Nagatoro, Irijanide Nagatoro-san, don't tease me, Miss Nagatoro, whatever you want to call it. Just a really good series. It's got I don't know, it's got good fun art, has interesting reaction faces like we were talking about, good characters. After it kind of gets past the wow, this is actually bullying, which it does fairly quickly in maybe 5 or 10 chapters, it's really sweet and wholesome. And the last arc, or the last kind of setup, my guess is for the finale or the confession, has been really good because it's rooted in character growth. Both of them are kind of hinging their confession on having a success in their what do I say? The guy wants to succeed at a placement test for college, and the girl wants to succeed in a competition, a judo competition. So they're both sort of like, hey, if I do well here, if I grow as a character, then I can take my next step to grow even more. And just little things like that, just hinging a progressive moment on actual character, if I do well enough here, if I don't do well enough, I'll confess, blah, blah, blah. Stuff like that's really simple, and Nagatoro has always been like that, but it's good. It just works. It is just kind of how you make a story. So it's just good.
Yeah, and I completely agree. If it wasn't on your list, I think I'd put it fourth on mine, my fourth favorite. I think it, like I mentioned to you, I think it was losing me a little bit.
Mhm.
But I still think overall, um, it is this one of the strongest rom-coms currently going. Uh, and the cast of side characters is fun too. I
Yeah.
really only dislike the president.
Yeah, and yeah, all the side characters I think are great. All of Nagatoro's friends are funny. I think the president's little sister is like a better version of her. In this
Yeah.
current arc, Nagatoro's older brother and older sister are both in it, and they're both fun because they're similar to her. Um, yeah, and we talked about this maybe last week in our hot take thing when talking about romance, but a lot of romances like this live or die on their side characters.
Yeah, I'd agree. And most of them are strong.
Yeah, I mean something like Wotakoi is one that Wotakoi, and then what is the what's the one about the manga author in high school with the little redheaded girl? I can't remember the name of it.
You're in high school with the redheaded girl. Oh, it's like some gal thing.
No, not a gal thing. I'll find it. I don't worry about it. Anyways, but those both have really good.
Oh, yeah, the comedy with
Yes, the comedy.
Chihiro,
Chihiro, yes, that one.
Nozaki, yeah.
Yes, Gekkan Shoujo Nozaki-kun. That's one where the side characters are like the star of the show.
Oh yeah. Uh, I actually think, surprisingly, I think Nozaki and Chihiro are legitimately the funniest characters,
They are still
but
very good. Yeah.
the side characters are all hysterical and well written.
Yep, for sure. Um, let's see what else. What's next thing you've got on yours?
Let me give you my second one. We talked about it a lot. We talked about these next two a lot. I'll give you both of them.
Yeah,
It's telework. It's still continuing strong. Still fun. Still a good read. Uh, a like a romance with like 30-year-olds, and I feel like it works on every level so far.
yeah, incredibly well written. Love it still.
And Smoking Behind the Supermarket. I think that one is also pretty unique. And I think everything works about it. Like the characters are both interesting, and the premise is unique, and smoking isn't bad for you, kids. That's what I learned.
That's literally I would say my only complaint because yeah, it's very good. I hope there's more progression in it eventually. This doesn't feel like a long running series, and it does feel like the progression is slow but intentional. If it wasn't for that one chapter where they almost get the main character to quit smoking and then roll it back because it's the only connection he has to the girl, yeah, I would definitely call it maybe one of the best. And it's selling well. That's why I flip back to the sales page right here. That's Supernova de Yani Su Futari. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, those are both really good. And I agree. Adult romances are on the rise. I think the anime fans of the late 90s, early 2000s, like we are, have aged up and aged out of a lot of the less mature romances, and I think that the more mature stuff is attracting us, and has been for the last couple of years. So
Yeah, and there's like a market for it, right?
yeah,
These high school
clearly.
romances, I feel work for people our age because we remember being in high school. And I feel like The Dangerous in My Heart, for example, for me, I remember having those insecurities or those phases, you know? That's why it works for me, but I feel like I can relate more to telework and Smoking Beyond the Supermarket as an adult because that's how romances feel as an adult.
Yeah.
And like you said, they're all anime fans, so they have to supplement lack of relationship with something. And you might as well do it with adult romances.
Yeah. There is also something to be said about where buying power lies. The more I think about it, maybe the less surprised I am to see Smoking Behind the Supermarket, at that, what was it, 7 out of 10 top bestseller list, because kids might get their allowance to buy, One Piece or Demon Slayer or Jujutsu Kaisen once a month or twice a month or something. But adults always have money, and if something grabs an adult, we'll buy it. And so I think these adult romances there is definitely an angle for adult focused media.
Agreed.
Yeah, I mean, Deadpool showed, what was it, was Deadpool the first R-rated movie to pass $1 billion or something like that, and it blew everybody's mind. But
pass $1 billion?
Yes,
I
think that's right. I think that's right.
That's a large sum.
I mean, it is not even in the top 20 top grossing movies. I don't know.
By the way, in Japanese convenience stores, they sell manga, of course.
Right.
If I owned one, I would put this manga right next to the cigarettes.
Yes, absolutely. And you would make money for it. That's a smart choice.
Yeah.
I also wonder, I don't know enough about, I know a little bit about smoking culture in Japan. I know that it's a thing that the black company kind of overworked office people do, which is that it generally is pretty pervasive there. Whereas
they also get stupendously blackout drunk, miss their trains and sleep in capsule hotels, and then go back to work the next day. So yeah, it's fucked up.
Yeah, but I think the cigarette thing in general appeals to those again, those people, and those people have money, so they're able to buy it.
It appeals to me as an ex-smoker, right? Like, so I think it. I get it, right? I get it. Like, if you've ever smoked cigarettes, you probably love cigarettes, even if you quit them. So, yeah, I don't know. The theme works. Even I just hated that one chapter where they said cigarettes aren't bad for you.
Well, they didn't necessarily say cigarettes aren't bad for you. They just kind of
not so many.
They walked up to the line of, hey, what if these people both stopped smoking because the main guy got cancer from it, and we can deal with that.
Fuck?
And then they were just like, nope, he doesn't have it. Doesn't have cancer. It was a joke. It was a joke. You can smoke still.
It was bizarre to even it's bizarre that they brought that up, because it's like nobody wants to think about that in a lighthearted rom-com, right?
I wonder. I hope for the future of this series. I do hope that not even necessarily that something happens. I do hope that they eventually quit smoking together, and maybe that's the end of the series, right? That they've stopped smoking. They can't smoke behind the back of the supermarket, so the story's over. I don't know. I would be pretty content with that as an ending, just because I don't know. Like, smoking's bad. There's not a good upside of smoking. It is kind of sad to hinge even one tiny minor little good thing to smoking like this series does, of like, oh, you might meet a cute girl by smoking somewhere specific. But yeah.
And I don't say this as an encouragement of smoking whatsoever, but the one thing smoking cigarettes does do is it increases the amount of social interactions you have drastically.
Yep.
And be it good or bad, right? Cigarettes are terrible for you. Don't smoke them. But yeah, it makes sense to people meeting just smoking cigarettes.
I mean, doing Molly at a rave also increases your social interactions. So there's lots of cocaine at a club. Social interactions going up. So yeah, drugs and social interactions are linked. I will give you that.
I can't wait for that manga. Right, just two crackheads falling in love,
dropping acid behind the rave on a Friday night. Two of us.
Hell yeah, romantic.
Yeah, X star X.
Well, I'll give you my last one after I hear some of yours.
Yeah, I was gonna go through a little speed run of the ones that I think are fun, if not super valuable. Doki-chan, which is a super short form Twitter post, essentially once a week. The artist, whose name is Yom, I love their art. This edges into lewd territory and sometimes out of it, but it's good. And I gotta say, Yom is an artist who I think has some of the best. How do I put this and not make it too weird? His understanding of female anatomy is incredible. And there's a lot of action people who have really good anatomy chops, I guess I would say. And Yam, even though the faces that they do, I'm not sure if it's a guy or a girl. The faces that they do are a little bit more simple and stylized, but the body, like, I will watch Yam draw like a calf, or like, you know, he draws like these businesswoman type characters a lot. The way that he draws like legs and calves and arms and hands and feet is like, this person understands anatomy incredibly well, and so I'll give a shout out to Yam and Doki-chan there. 100 Girlfriends, which I don't read, but I know a lot of people do. That one seems like a fun one. I'm going to check out the anime when it hits and see what it's like. Komi-san is dog shit. We'll move past that. I see that you've got Moto Takagi, and I've got one of the authors, the previous spinoff, the Takagi authors, the original Takagi authors, other series, Sore Demo Ayumu. That's the Japanese chess one.
Shogi.
Yeah, Shogi one, which I think is the best of the sort of three that he does, which is like Takagi, the Shogi one, and there's a ninja one, which I haven't really read much of the ninja one, but the Shogi one is the best thing. Takagi's still fun. Those are all pretty cute and sweet, though the progress is not the focus of them. I think Kanan-sama is pretty good and fun. That's a pretty short series. I think it's usually 9 or 10 pages. A little ecchi, but not too ecchi. Endlessly devoted guy dates a demon girl. The last arc they've been doing is like meeting her parents. I think it's fun. Yeah, those are all just a couple of fun ones that I enjoy.
So my issue with Doki is very popular. By the way, but my issue with Doki and a similar manga that I have this issue is I hate when the male protagonist doesn't have a face and it's supposed to be a self-insert of me.
See, I hate
that.
I think it can be done well. I think for Doki-chan especially is one of the better uses of it, because it's not about the guy, and it's not really a self-insert because you never are really you're never really seeing the story from the point of view of the guy. You're almost always seeing the point of view from a female protagonist. So the faceless guy is just sort of meant to be.
That's why it feels like a self-insert.
It is.
Right?
It is in a way a self-insert, but it is less. I'm trying to think of how it is less of a. I can insert myself into the situation, and this girl's endlessly in love with me, and more of. It's a two-way self-insert, right? It's. If you're a girl reading this, you can insert whatever guy you want on the other end, and if you're a guy, you can insert yourself there. And I don't think that all self-insert characters work like that, right? I don't think if you're looking at like a harem protagonist that looks generic and is meant to be a self-insert, I don't think that girls reading that are going to be able to just insert the boy they like onto that blank canvas. Whereas I think in Doki-chan, I think it works more in two directions, so I'm a little bit more forgiving of it.
And, you know, I can totally see that. And I don't even think this is a flaw, right? I think this is a preference thing, and it's just not my preference.
Yeah, for sure.
And like either way, I don't want any self-inserts. It's kind of my preference. It's like I just want characters.
Yeah.
Because I don't need to project myself onto a character. I'd rather have two well-written characters, and I can relate by relating to these other characters that are
and I would kind of say in Doki-chan, and this is not true for all. This is not true for most self-insert or kind of blank generic characters. Sometimes authors use those as a way to say that character is just not that important, and I think that's more what Doki-chan does, because I do think Doki-chan is one of the better blank face character using series. Something like what's the big boob thing, Tawawa on Mondays or whatever it's called. That one's no, it's it's called Tawawa something.
I don't think I've read that.
It's like on the front page like every Monday or Tuesday on Reddit, but
oh, got it.
He does like the single shot, and it's just a girl with ginormous breasts, and then there's like an actual series that goes along like the next day or something. Anyways, but all of the girls in there have a crush on their own different guy that is a blank face dude, but like kind of has characteristics and kind of doesn't. That one doesn't work as well for me. Doki-chan is more the guy doesn't have a face because he doesn't really matter. You're not really there to read about him. You're not, even if you want to play it as self-insert, it allows you to do that, which I think is okay. But generally it's more just about like, you're reading this because Doki-chan is cute, or she's going to do something goofy, or the office ladies are going to do something cute or funny. It's just like, it's not about them, so why worry about giving them a face? It's very much, it's something that, so one of my favorite anime series is Bakemonogatari. One of the cool things about that series is if you watch the first, I don't know, 10, 20 episodes, you'll ask, like, are there other people in the town they live in? Because you don't see, there's hardly anyone else ever appears, right? You almost never see other characters' faces unless they are a named, voiced, interactable character, which I think is a stylistic choice to essentially say, you know, we don't need to draw a bunch of random people walking around, even though you know they're there, because the important part is the characters in our story who are the focus. And that is a more drastic version of kind of what I'm talking about with Doki, is essentially, you don't have to give that character a face because he's not important. It's not the important part of the story. We need that character to be present to tell the story, but they are not the important part. The important part is Doki-chan and the girls and whatever.
And that just kind of makes me lose all investment in it personally, because like I think it works for Monogatari, but like I think for a romance, if one of the characters isn't really a character within the romance, it loses me.
Yeah, that's fair.
And again, it's just personal preference. This is not an attack on Doki. It's an attack on everything. With faceless characters.
Shingeki no everything.
Yeah. Yeah, let me give you my last one. I talked about this before briefly. Like I think I just mentioned it. But this one's an award-winning one. I think 2 or 3 years ago, it won quite a few awards. It's Insomniac's After School. And
yes, we talked about this a couple weeks ago, I think.
Yeah, very good, very fucking good. I'd recommend everyone read it. It's like The Dangers in My Heart, except less comedy, a little bit more drama, but the characters are really well realized and flawed, but also on the opposite end of the spectrum, just like they're just human as fuck. And I don't think there has ever, like, there's not been one single one of these classic misunderstanding, lack of communication romance tropes. I think the romance builds naturally, and there's no like confession scenes, right? They just know they like each other after a certain point.
I always appreciate I always appreciate when it's just kind of like, maybe there's a confession, but we're not going to hinge it around that. It just kind of works.
Right. Yeah, exactly. Like it's like they spend so much time together. They see all these beautiful scenes together. It's like it's clear they're already dating, even if they hadn't said it. Mm-hmm. And it just naturally it turns into that, right? But yeah, it won awards for a reason. Just really a good read. And yeah, my last one. Those are my big four. Those are my favorites going right now. I have a soft spot for Takagi Moto. It's Takagi.
This is written by
Nishitaka after they got married and had a kid.
Yes, it is better generally, I would say, than original Takagi.
Yeah, I think it's.
This is written by one of the author's old assistants, I believe. They just said like, "Hey, can I do a spinoff?" And yes, they can.
They release chapters faster, generally better than Takagi, like you said, and it has the same style.
That author is only doing Takagi Moto, and the Takagi author has 3 series, so understandable they do not publish the same frequency. But
that's fair. I think Takagi. The one thing is, now that we know that they're married and have a kid, I think Takagi's. It makes the main series lose a bit of its luster a little bit, because it's like doing the same shit over and over again.
Yeah,
after we know the result.
The premise of Takagi was never really, when are they going to get together? It's to me at least, it's much more about like what the the gag is what game are they going to play? Who's going to pull one over on the other one? It's always but
it's one of the one joke, one trope type things
for sure.
that I think works less than the other one trope.
It loses its luster pretty fast. I'll go and read a regular Takagi chapter every once in a while, but I'm not. If I see one pop up and I'm not in the mood, it doesn't bother me to skip it. You can skip any chapter and you don't lose much. So,
I think my biggest issue with Takagi Moto is that he had a child with this woman, and he's still embarrassed and shy and nervous around her.
Still gets like, oh no, she's gonna pull one over on me. It's like, dude, just let her. You've been married for like 10 years.
It's like, oh, she's gonna give me a hug. I don't know if we should do that. It's like, bro, how did you have a kid? How did that happen? You're afraid of hugs? Well, you know what? I ain't questioning it.
Yep. So, but, to finish us off, those are kind of our currently published recommendations for romance. I would also recommend. Oh gosh, what's the one? What's the one with Mona Chan? But it's not named after her. It's named after the guy who we know nothing about.
Oh, the my charms don't.
Yeah, my charm. There you go. My charms wasted on Kurio America. That one's okay. It has gotten worse recently. It still starts pretty good. If you're looking, it's a little bit cute and different enough I would say, to give it a try.
I think it's bad.
It has gone downhill. It is. I would not say that it is bad. It has definitely gone downhill.
I don't like it, but I think it, like Bruce said, it started really well, and I think the art and character designs are really good.
And I think it has a chance to come back, and we can just say, oh yeah, there's like 30 chapters in the middle that aren't great, but it's still good. We'll see. I can recommend that one. What for completed series, other than Kaguya, because we have talked about that one extensively, are there any other romance that you would recommend from completed series?
Like I mentioned, off the top of my head, Ouran High School Host Club is very good. I still think that holds up. You know what? Hold on. Let me.
You look for something. I will.
I'm gonna check.
I will wholeheartedly put forward quintessential quintuplets. Now, I know that harem is not for everyone. I would say this is generally not a true harem, in that the ending is not a harem ending. And it's much more fun. It's much more of a fun romance because of the mystery. And you get to pick the sister that you're rooting for, and you get to kind of unravel the mystery along with the lead character. The writing is good. The character writing is really good. It ends in maybe its worst arc is maybe the last arc or two, which is a bit disappointing. But overall, I think Quintessential Quintuplets is really good. The anime, I think, is getting a final season this year, maybe, or maybe it came out with a final season movie this year. Just a really good series, I would say. And Negi Haruba, the author, is doing Ranger Reject, which we've talked about on this show, is a very good series. It's turning out better than Quintessential Quintuplets so far. But yeah, I can definitely recommend, if you're just looking for a fun, 5 cute girls, kind of harem, but actually a romance, it's really good.
Okay, so I looked at a list of the best romance manga, and I realized I don't like much of this.
It's gonna be like Fruits Basket and
Kimi no Yuramachi, which I kind of liked at the time, but it has all the tropes I hate. I like Real Life. There you go. That's the one.
Real Life is really good. Yep, I'll give you that one for sure. I've heard about Skip and Loafer. That's on my to read list. I hear people on Twitter rave about that one.
I guess Spice and Wolf.
Yeah.
That's more of an LN and an anime, but yeah.
Yeah, I was about to say I don't think that's manga first. I could be wrong about that, but I mean, yeah, if you want a good romance anime, Spice and Wolf is a pretty good one. That's another one of those ones where it is more adult, more subtle, they don't tell each other they love each other. They just kind of happen slowly, much more quote unquote realistic, even though one of them is a wolf god.
That's realistic.
Yeah, very realistic.
But you haven't had that happen to you?
Not yet. Crossing my fingers.
I'd like to give a shout out to Izaki-chan for being insufferable.
Oh, you want to talk about insufferable? I'll shout out Komi-san for being the most insufferable currently published. quote unquote
Yeah,
romance manga.
that's a rough one, brother.
It's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, not a fan of that anymore.
I I have to wonder if there are people who still love it. Um,
Probably.
I remember like we were hoping it got like a lot of people were hoping it got an anime, and by the time the anime was announced, like none of us wanted the anime. We just
It
didn't give a shit
was.
anymore.
Yeah, it was a part of the like when I first started reading, when you kind of got me into it about 5 years ago, there was like I'm trying to think, it was like there was like 4 or 5 shows or 4 or 5 series that everyone was like, these have to get animes. And it was like Komi, Kaguya, and a couple of others, right? And
Right.
they all got animes pretty recently in the last 3 years. And Kaguya was big, and by the time Kaguya's anime, I want to say got announced pretty close to like its big kind of climax around 140 chapters. Komi kind of had the same. I think its anime got announced maybe right before they had their big kind of confession hook get together arc, but yeah, Komi's just. I want to talk about sort of a single gag. There's like 50 insufferable single gags in Komi, and if more than 3 of those characters show up in the same chapter, it's just cannot handle it.
The author writes comedy it's like throwing spaghetti at a wall, honestly.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's how he writes comedy,
A good way
and
of saying it.
yeah, it's frustrating. Yeah, I I'm realizing after talking about these and looking at lists, trying to think of another one, I'm realizing that while I like romances and rom-coms, this is my pickiest genre.
Yeah.
I'm realizing how fucking picky I am with what I like in this genre.
And I think I am too, and the reason for that is I know the kind of art that I like, and especially manga, is I like really character focused stuff that does characters really well. I'm not super concerned about plot. Plot can be messy if the characters are strong. I'm very kind of character first reader, which is why I am attracted to romance, because they are generally character focused and character driven. But that also means that if they don't do those things well and I'm reading them, that I am more likely to be critical of them. I think you're pretty similar type of reader.
Yeah, very much so. And I this also has a lot to do with that the romance genre is saturated with people who haven't experienced a ton of romance themselves.
Yeah, or a lot of, I mean, we talked about this last week with my Bleach hot take of everything just kind of being a Bleach redo. Art in general is based on the art that's come before it, and a lot of these romance stories are just, they aren't true romance. They aren't based on the author's personal experience. They are based on all of the other romance that the author has read, and it's their own version or take on it. And those are not as good. Not as good as experience leading to writing.
I agree. And I feel like most of the stuff on our list here falls into the category of, I feel like the author is breaking tropes and doing certain parts of the rom-com or the romance very well, which is why we have it on the list. But the reason the other 1000 romance manga aren't on the list is either we haven't heard of them because they're too many romance manga, or they're bad.
Yeah. One last shout out for one that I think is good. I think we also talked about this last week. The story between a dumb prefect and a high school girl with an inappropriate skirt length. I think that's a really good one because
It's a solid one.
Because it's very Reiwa era. They start dating in like 20 chapters of, the 30 or 40 that are currently out. That's a good one. Ones that I know from Twitter, Skip and Loafer is one that I hear everybody talk about as a really good one. So check some of those out if you're looking for romance to read.
Skip and Loafer. Is this you haven't read it, right?
I have not read it. It is on my plan to read list. It's about 50 chapters right now, I think. It's just one of those ones that I follow a lot of the shoujo manga anime YouTuber creators, and they're all like desperately in love with that series. They say it's the best thing ever, so I'm interested to check it out.
I like the female main character's design.
Yeah, the designs, apparently both of them are really great. So Anything else to say on this Valentine's Day about romance manga?
Uh, I thought of one final romance manga. The only harem I think I like. The world God only knows.
Yep.
Ended with the best girl. You can go read it. Uh, but yeah, I'm looking at some of the Skip and Loafer stuff. I like how plain the main girl looks. I feel like there's a definite marketplace for not conventionally attractive looking female characters in anime. Like, do you remember Isaacin? Uh, get him. I think is
I do
something.
not recognize that name, no.
Keep your hands off of Isaacin. It's about three girls making anime.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
I thought one of the best character designs was the girl with the glasses. I'm forgetting her
Yeah,
name.
the small girl. I don't remember their names
Oh
either.
no, the really tall girl with the
Oh, the tall girl.
glasses.
Yeah. The like money grubber. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. I really like her design because I don't think she's supposed to be attractive, right? She's not attractive. She has her teeth out all the time, and
Mm-hmm.
I think that's just like I think there's a variety of guy designs in anime, but I don't think you see too many unique girl designs outside of being super fucking hot or generic cute girl face. You know what I mean?
Yeah, there's a lot of I mean there's the generic guy design that they all look the same,
Mm.
and then there's very typical, like, this is the black-haired beauty character, this is the like Gyaru character. And then past that, yeah, you don't get a whole lot. One of the other completed ones that I think is a great romance is the Hot-Blooded Boyfriend Girlfriend series, which name I don't remember the exact one of, but
Oh right, yeah.
that one was super fun.
It was like the reverse Kaguya, where they're both
Yes.
super fucking dumb. You
Yeah.
know,
Two like incredibly stupid. Yeah, but it was that one is super
I
fun,
liked it.
and it felt more. I always sometimes will have an issue with romance, just kind of saying, "Oh, these characters were made for each other," and not actually like developing their characters and showing me that, like, oh yes, these characters were actually made for each other because their character traits line up or match in some way. And that series, I did not doubt for a second that those characters were absolutely made for each other because they were the exact same kind of stupid and funny in all the best
Right.
ways. So yeah, I think that's the last suggestion that I've got.
And that one is I'd say it's like one of the ones that leans way more into calm than rom. You know.
Yes.
But yeah, that one's really fun too. I'm forgetting what it's called as well.
I think it's just called Hot Blooded. I don't. It never had an official uh Western release, so I don't know if we actually have a
Right.
name for it. But I don't know. I can't seem to find it. I can find
Well,
pictures of it if I search Hot Blooded. I can search Mutual Confession because there's a really funny page that if you search Mutual Confession manga should show up maybe first or second.
oh yeah, mutual consent.
Or Mutual Consent. Yeah, Mutual Consent. Yeah, there you go. Where they both are
Yeah.
just like. Anyways, that's a really funny one. But also, I mean, I think the romance in it is pretty solid because I think the characters are. Again, I believe that those characters belong together because they are written well enough that I understand both of them, and yes, they do belong together.
Okay, so for people wondering what it's called, the English title is called Super Straightforward Boyfriend X Super Straightforward Girlfriend.
Okay, there you go.
So go look that up, and go buy some chapters, go read some chapters. However you get your chapters, go get them.
Yeah, I want to say that probably doesn't have an official release, so go read your chapters online where you can find them. But yeah.
Yep. Well, yeah, I think that's about it for our Valentine's Day main romance topic.
Yeah, hopefully, if you or your significant other, if you both like romance, go get some volumes of Kaguya, or suggest that you read together those two. Or if you are lonely, like the rest of us probably are, live vicariously through the self-insert in Yam's Doki-chan series.
I have a hot god wolf girlfriend, so I'm fine.
Me too, man.
I feel bad for people who can't relate.
I can't believe it. So,
but yeah, let's why don't you tell me one more thing?
Yeah, happy Valentine's Day, everyone. That's our romance. We'll next week I think we are going to talk a little bit more about the new shonen block that came out a couple months ago, which one of those we think are surviving or not. I'm going to do a catch up on some other stuff. We might finally throw One Piece in the show. We've been kind of avoiding it, but I do think we need to get to One Piece before the end of March so we can do it once a quarter. But yeah.
Bruce, I forgot to talk about my favorite romance, Romance Dawn. Of course,
That is
we're
a good
talking about
romance.
One Piece.
Maybe
Yeah,
that's the best romance. Romance Dawn
yeah.
from One Piece might actually be the best romance arc, right? Why wouldn't it
One
be?
Piece wins every category, brother.
That's true.
That's how we do it. Yeah.
If you missed our hot take series, go watch the last episode. Yeah, One Piece wins every category for
Every
Gaoton.
fucking category. Yep.
Um,
I reek of bias. I'm sorry.
yeah. So little extra thing. I moved this past week. That's why you had a little bit of a different episode last week. From going from an apartment to a house, super stressful. Moving sucks. Being moved is okay. Living in a house is a lot better than living in an apartment. Also,
100%.
yeah, happy to be at this point in my life for sure. Moving in with some friends who will be getting here soon. Not much else to say about that. Moving sucks. If you've got the money to just pay people to move you, do that. It cost me a chunk of money to pay people to move all my big stuff, but it was worth it because they did it in about 2 hours, where it would have taken me and one other person all day or longer to try to move all the heavy stuff I had. So, and I'd have driven it.
And the fact is, like, if you're not a professional mover, there's a good chance you'll break something either moving it or in the moving truck. So it's like it's better to just get it done professionally. It'll save you money and time in the long run.
Yeah. So
why don't you go ahead and say that last thing on the one more thing that you wrote as a note, because
this was my other little one thing. Okay, so
yeah.
I have my own office now, so I'm gonna kind of decorate that with some manga paraphernalia, and I don't see if I can grab down there. Yeah, I bought a bunch of foam sound absorbers. They're down here by my dog who's sleeping very here. And I also said, okay, well, I don't just want sound absorbers on the wall. I'd like to put up some kind of manga posters. And I looked on Amazon, I looked some other places, and I was like, I can't really find anything. And then I found, here's just a bunch of manga panel pages in cards. And I was like, cool, I'll just buy those, and then I can put occasionally, I don't have to use all of them. I think this is like 50 cards or something. And I'm flipping through, and it's like, of the 50 cards that I got, I think maybe half or more of them are Demon Slayer, My Hero Academia, and Bleach. Like, those three are 60% of the cards. Like, you see, it's like this one, that's Demon Slayer. That's Naruto. Attack on Titan. My Hero. And then it's like, My Hero. That's, what is that? Bochi's, that one science thing. I don't know.
Those are pretty cool, though.
And then I like... It's pretty neat, though, and they should fit. So these are, I have like 1 foot by 1 foot sound absorbing pads. These are 4 by 6 inches. So I think that means that I can put like 3 by 3 maybe inside each. Yeah, I think I could put like a 3 by 3 square inside like a 4 squared sound absorber pad. I don't know. I'm going to figure out how to do that. You should hopefully see one behind me somewhere next time I do this. It should be back there. I'm gonna have to move my camera, but
yeah. So in our notes, Bruce bought some wall arts, and half of them are Hero Academia, and I wrote, bro, what? Because Bruce, like me, I will say, is one of the biggest Horikoshi shit talkers.
He's a great artist and the worst writer in Jump.
Dude, you lost the shit talking privileges. You're a fan now.
Well, this is random. Keep in mind, when I bought this, it had not these exact ones, and it just said it's 50, random pages. So I didn't know, right? Like, am I getting? Because I thought, okay, out of 50, I was like, there'll probably be like 2 or 3 from a couple of series, and it's like, no, there's only about 8 series in here, and there's a couple of one-offs, right? Like, I don't. Like, do you know? Can you see this if I hold this up? Am I still broadcasting on?
I'm watching on a delay.
Oh, is it still up? So if you can, do you know what this series is? Because I don't know what this is. If you're watching a
Uh,
video, tell me, and you're looking at this page, tell me if you know what series this is.
hold it up to the camera a little closer.
Yeah, I'm moving it close.
Uh,
It's some girl. Is this? I don't think this is Kakaguri. There is a Kakaguri page in here. A single one.
She looks like five other.
I know it looks so
characters,
generic.
right?
I have like it could be anything. But like
They,
there's like one Doctor Stone page. There's like one Black Clover page. There's actually a bunch of Haikyuu pages, which is cool. There's like one page from Noragami. Can we focus? There's like one Noragami page. Lots of Attack on Titan, which I'm cool with. I like Attack on Titan. Lots of Bleach. There's only like 2 or 3 One Piece panels, which is sad. It did give me okay. This is a great My Hero page. This of the upperclassmen 3, whatever they're called, the big 3.
yeah, Mirio, Sun Eater, and the girl.
And yeah, I don't remember it, but yeah.
Hajire, something.
Yeah, and there's like 2 assassinations. I'm pretty sure actually they gave me a page. Spoilers for Assassination Classroom. I haven't read it. I think this is like the climax of Assassination Classroom.
Wait, don't tell me. I started reading that 5 years ago and I never finished it, and I still hold out the hope that I'll finish it one day.
Also, I just noticed these. Okay, I'll try to find another one. These are clearly like stolen because I won't use that page, but the Assassination Classroom panel I have on it has not a scanlation group, but like a hosting sites tag. It has a manga stream, which is like a hosting site. It has a manga stream watermark on it. And it's like, wait a minute, these aren't official. You can't just do this. So I may have just given, I mean, granted, I paid like $15 for all these, so it's not super expensive, but yeah.
You weren't reading Shonen at the time, but Manga Stream is where we read all, like when the big 3 were coming out, it's where we read One Piece, Bleach, and Naruto every fucking week.
I still, when I'm doing some of my visual editing and grabbing pics from Google and stuff, a lot of Manga Stream tagged pictures still show up. I'm gonna find it again, and maybe it's only on that page, right? Maybe they only had it once, but
it sounds like they just stole it from a bunch of different websites.
Yeah,
right?
and I mean some of these are like cut off a little weirdly, but I don't know. I mean, like some of these are good, right? Like I don't like Naruto, but like this page of like Sasuke and Naruto like yelling each other's names, like that's a good panel to have on your wall, right? A couple of Death Note things.
Wait, you haven't even read Naruto, have you?
No, I have not. I do not think I would like it if I did.
You're biased against Naruto just because you saw Boruto's face and you decided to hate his dad.
Yeah, that's pretty right. That's pretty right, actually.
That's pretty right. Yeah.
I don't know. I've seen the well animated stuff from the anime, and it's like, yeah, it's got good fights. It also ripped some fights from other animations. Like, I think it was in Naruto where they literally just grabbed the like art from the Cowboy Bebop movie fight scene, where
that's the one.
Yeah. So
it's like a Bruce Lee fight scene that inspired that Bebop scene.
Yeah. Well, here I'll like cover it up, but like you can see in this corner here. Let me see if I can get where is it?
Oh, is this the ass class?
It's like you can see the little manga stream thing down there in the corner.
That's really funny.
Which is hilarious. Yeah. But anyways, hopefully those will be up. It's actually not as bad as I thought. There's maybe 6 My Hero things, but they'll be pretty cool.
I was just joking. I think those are cool.
I didn't find any like scrolls or big wall things that I liked, or at least none that were affordable. There were some of them that I thought like, oh, that would be sick to have like, you know, a Berserk Amira thing on my wall, and it was like, oh, okay, yeah, like a 1 foot by 8 inch thing, like that's $30. But if you want the like 2 foot by 3 foot real art, like, you know, thick kind of canvas thing, it's like that's $120. And I was like, I'm gonna wait to get that. So.
Hot take. I'm not really into wall scrolls. I do not like wall scrolls. No, just go posters and frame them. You know.
Yeah. Well, the things I were looking at were like the canvas. They were like the canvas posters, but then they've got like the thick block, you know, where they're like an inch thick and it's like on a wooden frame, kind of like those. Those are the ones that I think are cool.
Yeah, I see what you're talking about. Those are cool. Yeah.
But anyways, that was my art and moving adventure. What's this?
For me, I am playing the Dead Space remake. Not a huge horror guy myself. I like horror, but I am a weenie who gets nightmares.
Yep.
Got nightmares for a week after I watched Hereditary. But anyway, Dead Space
Same.
is one of my favorite franchises. I think it's immensely atmospheric, creative, and I think it balances like the spooky horror parts created with, of course, jump scares, its atmosphere, its music, its sound design, all of that fucking immaculate lighting. But it also gives you a gun, which helps me feel brave. Yeah, so like this is like the perfect mix of horror and gameplay in my eyes. Like,
Yep.
And going too much further in any other direction does not work. Like, I don't know if you played this, Bruce, but I played Alien Isolation.
No, I've watched people play it, but
I've watched all the Alien movies. I love that franchise. I think the Xenomorph is fucking cool. I don't think it's scary, really, in the movies, but I played that game. Terrifying,
yeah.
freaking terrifying.
I saw a clip from it
was,
like
yeah.
yesterday or 2 days ago, and it's like the alien like comes into the room, the guy's hiding under a bed, it leaves, the guy starts to come out, the alien just comes back into the room again and is like, did I bait him out? Checks again, like leaves, the guy sits under the bed, the alien comes back in, crouches down, looks like it's not looking under the bed, and then it just like looks at the bed and lunges, and it's like, oh my god, you cannot do that.
I still don't understand. They talk so much about how much effort they put into the Alien AI.
It's like 6 AI systems talking to each other every time. I think I either watched an interview or on a podcast. Maybe it was No Clip who did it. I don't remember, but somebody talking about how it like there is a system. It's so cool. I have to tangent on it. They have like 6 different systems for the alien that all talk to each other or don't talk to each other depending on how much information it has. It has a map of everything, and it has a knowledge of your last position or where it last saw you. If you make a sound, it knows where that sound comes from, but it doesn't always know how to get there with the map. It like will turn these AI systems like on and off depending, and so it's like incredibly smart. And like the worse you are at the game, the louder you are, the smarter the AI systems get. And if you're good at hiding and dodging it, then the AI systems kind of disconnect from each other because it loses information, and it's really cool, really scary too.
It's exactly like you said, and it's like it slaps another aspect of reality on top of it. I say reality, but you know what I mean. Like if you throw like a noisemaker into a different room, the alien will run to it, and it'll find out it's a noisemaker and get so pissed off that it will start sprinting down hallways in rage, looking for you, like hauling ass, like twice your movement speed, sprinting, and if you throw another noisemaker, it won't go to it because it knows you lied to. It knows you did a big lie to its face, and it's very disappointed.
It's super interesting. I would like to see that AI reused or used somewhere else. But yeah, I've heard nothing but good stuff about this Dead Space remake. It isn't just like the same game with new assets. They've like removed the tram so you can just seamlessly travel to the rest of the ship. There's a bunch of these individual events that they've scripted of like stuff jumping out at you or something could be here or not. And so your playthrough is a little bit different than everybody else's. You'll get scared at different times and different stuff, but they're all like individually scripted. So they aren't like randomly generated, but they are randomly assigned, I guess.
Yeah, it's called an intensity director is what they call it. And it's like not just monsters. It throws you monsters, but it also throws like, hey, this fan is very creaky and it's putting you on edge nonstop. Or it's like, hey, there's fog in this room. Or hey, the lights are out this time. This time you're going through this room. The tram is still there, but you can go back to old chapters, which is awesome. So.
Oh, yep. It seems really good. I'm excited. Dead Space 2 is one of my favorite games of all time. That's such a great game.
Same. I beat it like 5 times.
I really hope that this group or some group does a similar quality remake of Dead Space 2. Dead Space 2 barely really needs as much of an update as Dead Space 1 did, I think. I mean, I think that's still a pretty modern feeling game, but
yeah, it's like still like a decade or so old, but it aged like fine wine.
Yeah. I mean, Dead Space came out in 2009, so we're coming up on 14 years old. Dead Space 2, I think, is 2011, so 12 years old. I mean, that's still, now that I think about it, that's still very old. So
Shit, dude. But I'm here for it. Throw a coat of paint on it. Throw the same coat of paint on it. Crank up the atmosphere like you did in this game, and
Yeah.
you just make Dead Space 2 better.
We are entering into the video games have entered into the age of remakes. Movies did it 15 years ago. I think we are now at a time where the 360, GameCube, Wii, PS3 era games are now 14, 15 to 10 to 15 years old. And so those are going to start getting remakes. And those games are modern, but still slightly dated. So I'm excited to see some of the stuff that they could grab to remake here.
Yeah, and I let's end it on this. What game would you want to get? This is like a perfect remake in my opinion. What would you want to get the Dead Space treatment?
Let me see. There's so many to get the Dead Space treatment. I would say there's do you have yours? I'm thinking of mine.
Yeah.
Say yours and I'll keep
the Metal Gear Solid series.
That's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah.
I could definitely be down with that. I'm trying to think. Maybe something like Fable. Those games were really cool when they came out, but they're also kind of old and dated. And if they updated
I've never actually played them.
Yeah, Fable 1 and 2 are really good. Fable 3 has the worst ending ever. I would also say the Ninja Gaiden series. I think they are. I think they announced a new version of Fable. Like, we're going to call it Fable, but it's going to be a new game. Or maybe it's a remake. I'm not sure. But some of those, I mean, honestly, we just came out with one of them that I would have said, which is
it was discontinued.
Which is the Metroid Prime series, right? We just got the first Metroid Prime. I think that's super good thing to remake with modern controls. As a personal favorite, the game that I have always wanted to see re-released or remade or updated in some way is my favorite, maybe second favorite JRPG of all time, which is a game called Skies of Arcadia.
Oh, people love that game.
That game is so good, and I would love to see it remade. It's One Piece, but you're sky pirates, and it's an RPG. It's very kind of anime, but it's super good story, super interesting battle system with different colors being different elements, and you can swap your weapons to the colors mid-battle. It's so good. It has a great story. It's a super long game, too, especially for... There was a Legend... The original one came out on Dreamcast, and there's a Legend version that came out on GameCube. I would be in love with those games if they released them.
Yeah, I like people talk about they've been on my list, but I've been hoping they'd get a remake just because I don't want to. It's hard going back to games without like modern quality of life changes, you know.
Yeah, it also that game's owned, I think, by Sega, so don't hold on hope for that. Sega makes pachinko machines now, so pachinko machines, and they hand off Sonic to other people to make.
True. Oh, final thought: Jak and Daxter. Yeah, that's my other one.
I was good. Yeah, my other thing: Jak and Daxter, Ratchet and Clank, Sly Cooper. All of those, I would love to see more. We just kind of don't have those games anymore. Ukulele came out, but wasn't quite the same. I love those action platformers, and we just don't.
Me too.
Don't really get them anymore.
I absolutely adored them as a kid. Those were like my favorite types of games.
Yeah, same.
But they just don't exist nowadays. So the only people with nostalgia for it are people our age,
which I think that means they're coming, right? So if people our age are starting to get into management, upper level, maybe not director, but around director level stuff, they're about to be decision makers and control the money. People our age, or maybe a little bit older. Which is why I think we're getting... I saw someone's theory that the reason that video game adaptations are trending up, The Last of Us is really good, Arcane was good, some other stuff has come out, the Sonic movies are pretty decently good, is because people our age, right, in their sort of early, mid-late 30s, are now, like, they're in those spaces, and they are making those decisions, and they know what to do with them, whereas the previous people, you know, Doom was a part of most of us growing up, or maybe the generation before us, but the people who made the Doom movie in 2006 didn't have any relation to Doom. They just kind of took it and massacred it, right? So
Right. I don't know. I don't know how you waste Dwayne the Rock Johnson and Carl Urban in one movie, but they managed.
it was also early, Dwayne
Yeah,
Johnson, but
and yeah, early for both of them.
Yep. One last thing that I would love to see remade that I've never seen anyone talk about but me. Two N64 games. There's a game called Buck Bumble, which is about a bee with guns, and there's a game called Chameleon Twist, which was one of my favorite N64 games, and I have never ever seen anything about it anywhere. Chameleon Twist, Buck Bumble. Go right now. We're about to end this podcast. Look up the Buck Bumble theme song on YouTube and listen to it, and it will be stuck in your head endlessly. And with that, thank you for listening or watching. Don't forget, if you're listening and want to watch us, we are live on the White Gray Black YouTube channel every week. The VODs are uploaded on the podcast channel, which is WGB Weekly Manga Podcast, on Thursday or Friday. Podcast is an audio format, as I mentioned. Patreon at WGB Manga. And yeah, read more manga. Read more romance manga on Valentine's Day. Try not to feel too lonely, everybody.
See ya.